Okay, part two. This one's mostly going to be going over combos and why I use some that are not necessarily optimal, but will always work for the team, just depending on which situation you're in. So, alright. Again, doing this with Sentry, but you know, pick your point of enjoyment, you know, whatever point character you like, and then if you're wondering what the best route to get into the cat ender that I'll be going over, probably just hit me up on the Discord. I probably can either figure it out, or you could probably figure it out on your own, because it's mostly just about saving one launcher while still hitting the juggle limit, more or less, and just doing as much as you can off the character. So I'll start with Sentry. I, again, only started learning Sentry fairly recently, so I'm keeping it somewhat basic. I mean, it's still plenty enough, because Sentry's 1 bar damage is really high. Yeah, so we'll start with throws, I guess, because you get a lot of throws as Sentry. And I won't go over every single specific combo, just because some of them do overlap. Like, I pretty much do the same thing. Throw is definitely a good one to start with. Okay, so that's mostly what you're looking for. Is you want to be able to do a pretty good amount of damage, and this, again, this is the combo I would go to if I have Cat as an available assist, because it doesn't really matter that much how much damage you do, because Cat can make up for it on her end with the restand loop. And if you don't know what the restand loop is, I probably should have gone over that first, but if you don't know what the restand loop is, at any point in a combo, as long as you still have a launcher, you can always do Cat's launcher into her back SS, and that will put them in a standing state. And in Battle for the Grid currently, when someone is in a standing state, they will not tech due to the juggle limit. They are only affected by the stun time. And since Cat has a base, not an infinite, because I do think it will break eventually, but you can do it enough times that they're always going to die. And the combo is standing light, crouching light, standing medium, and then forward S. So if you do it, start with a jump H, and then you can just do that. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. It does get tighter as it goes on. It seemed really easy there because they weren't at juggle limit, where it becomes much tighter. But yeah, you can see even that just did a ton of damage, and there wasn't even a combo before it. So obviously, it's going to kill. So once again, if you're on Sentry, you pretty much just do something pretty simple. Simple, and then we'll screw it up. On Cat, launcher, into the restand. Finish the restand loop in a bunch of different ways. If you want to spend 2 meters to kill, you can do that. If you want to spend 1 meter, then just do that ender. So just out off of any of the loops, you know, you're doing this, then you just do the same thing you would normally do. Instead of a forward S, you just do the EX. That's the easiest way to do it. If you were trying to be optimal, you would do the Rekka, I guess, Kara cancel, which is much more annoying, but not that hard, I suppose, where you do 2 Rekkas. Come on. And usually when it's just go with this, there we go. If you do that, that's probably the most damaging way you could go, and you can obviously cancel that into super. Then you can do the whole ender into that. But again, you pretty much never need to do that, so it's kind of irrelevant. If you really feel like your execution's good, I mean, you can just... most characters will just die when you're just doing this roughly 4 times into that ender. Will kill, like, the vast majority of the cast without spending any meter. Because Sentry's 1 bar damage is so high. So yeah, that is the cat ender that I usually go to. So again, off an overhead. Overkill damage, why not? Anyone's dead right there. I mean, granted, that was lots of heavy starters, so it was easier than, and you didn't need the EX or anything. But that's, let's assume, or rather, what do you do when you don't have cat? Then you probably want to do more damage with Sentry overall, and there are plenty of optimal Sentry combos you can go for. That I don't even really do. Some of the easier ones are to do that jump loop to add a little bit of extra damage into it. I know that Fear does the one where you link that and the crouch light. Yeah, something like that. That'll do 859 before you swap, and you still have only used 1 launcher, which is good because Gia needs a launcher in order to do her juggle limit breaking stuff for the most part. I mean, you still could just do like a little bit in the super, and it's going to kill most characters because the common health total is 950. But even still, yeah, something like that will typically do it. But the Gia ender, so assume we're doing this. If you want to spend 2 meters, that'll still get you to 1,000. And that was off the without the jump loop version, so you could probably tack on another 70 damage to that pretty easily, and then it'll almost kill anyone in the game. It's definitely not as for sure of a kill, especially off of a throw with Sentry, but it's still most likely a kill. Like, most characters are still dead from this. And if you did a really optimal Sentry combo, I think it would still kill anyone in the game. If they're a lower health character, you can even just do that, and then you can still do that as a possible other finisher if you want to save that 1 extra meter. I usually just go straight into the super, though. It's kind of irrelevant how much meter the team has when it's still full because of cat. As long as you can get an incoming mix-up, then your chances of hitting them with cat still available are very high.
You're not supposed to be here.
Then I guess I would say confirming with the assists. This is something I've kind of just started adding, so I'm not as good at this yet. But if you get like 2 laser shots, you can let's not do it in the corner because that makes it again, I still have Cat because I use Gia's assist, so this part of the combo doesn't really matter that much.
Check this out.
Still enough to come. Yeah, so you combo off of any of the assists like that. It's probably a little better actually if you knock them down first instead of using the overhead so early. You get a little bit more damage that way. There's not much more effort, if any.
Emergency.
Let's see, just an extra 50 damage. No problem.
You're not supposed to be here.
So yeah, that's those are my Sentry to Cat kind of go-tos. If you're mid-screen, I don't recommend trying to do the light into the double jump laser combos because it doesn't work that well mid-screen. I've had very little success doing it that way. What else? Is there anything else? Sentry. That's pretty much what I was going for. Alright, so on the Cat. Cat's combos, I typically keep them fairly basic because you can certainly do more advanced stuff with Cat, but again, it doesn't. I don't feel like you get as much reward as just getting really good at the restand loop. So I typically do pretty simple stuff, usually something like this. And you can see my my videos. Cat. Oh, that's not gonna work. In the Cat Discord channel, I have one up, and then there's plenty of other people who have theirs. It's not really that important what your starting combo is, as long as you can get into the loop. Usually something like this, I find does the trick just fine.
Cat stunners.
Yeah, see, that'll still kill most characters, and obviously I didn't even use an EX there, and that combo easily builds 3 meters, no problem. Let's see, what else? Just some general Cat things. They did nerf her dive kick, which makes comboing off of it a humongous pain if you don't use an assist. That's super easy, obviously. But yeah, I typically have stopped using the dive kick nearly as much if I don't have an assist in the back, because it's just not as universally safe and great as it used to be. It used to be like Wolverine dive kick. Now it's kind of tame. Like, it's still a decent move. It's just you shouldn't just throw it out like all the time, because it's a very much more annoying to combo off of, and kind of height. I think it might be height dependent. Yeah, it's annoying, and honestly, you don't really need it that much, because her jump H is still like a ridiculous cross up. So if you don't have an assist at the ready, because again, also her dive kick is not a high, despite what it looks like. It is not a high hitting move, so people can block it crouching. So just because you can do it really low to the ground doesn't really help you that much in that aspect. One thing it is still very good at is air to airing. If you think that if you and your opponent both jump, and you're just sure they're going to press a button, then it is a great option. It just flat out beats most things. It has a great hitbox for that, especially if you jump back. And then you can just go into any other problem. Cat does have an issue comboing small body characters to an extent where The problem is when you're trying to get in, and this is relevant to my team because of getting into the loop. When a small body character is in the corner, you cannot do the medium heavy forward S loop in the corner if they are any of the female characters, basically. I don't think there's any other small characters. Yeah, any of the female cast members. Works on everyone else just fine, but not them. So in their case, you will just do whatever your general first starting thing is, and then you wall bounce them, and then you just have to take them to the other side of the screen with that loop, and then you're fine. It's all the same past that point. It's just that you can't, the combo is typically a little bit worse, but because the female cast members have typically less health, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. It's just something to keep in mind that you cannot do that. Like, as soon as you're absolutely in the corner, that will no longer work. They also, in the most recent patch, nerfed this auto combo. It's now harder to link together the medium HH than it used to be. They also take up the same juggle state as the dive kick. So, and being that they nerfed the damage down, they're not as worth using as they used to be, except when the opponent is still grounded. If the opponent is grounded, then that is like the best way to get them into the air, but that's pretty much just a corner only thing. You can't really do that too much outside of the corner. Like, they can be a little bit outside of the corner, but when someone is fully cornered, yeah. It's still worth doing once, and then arguably worth doing twice, but I will note that they made it way tighter doing the second time. It still works, but it's not really that much extra damage. So yeah, that's kind of that. You can use either of these assists to extend Cat's post restand loop combo. It's pretty easy to figure that out on your own, but assuming that it's Gia, I think an easy way to go is to just do 2 Rekkas and then call Gia, or 2 Rekkas, call Gia, do the last Rekka, and then pretty much just do another set of Rekkas into Super, or just EX into Super past that point, are both good, or of course do the optimal thing into Super, and that's assuming you already used both your launchers in the combo, etc. Otherwise you could do like launcher that, and whoops, what do you do? Something like that at the end of the combo to get a little extra damage. It's easier than doing the loop more than 3 or 4 times, but again, you shouldn't really need it. It is easier though, so if you're having trouble doing the loop, you know, more than once or something, it's a pretty nice option to have, assuming you still have Gia. Is that most of what I wanted to talk about with Cat? As far as combos goes, yes. So, and we're trying to make this combos mainly. And I was just talking about our changes too. Yeah, let's go to Gia. So Gia's combos are by far the easiest on this team. They may seem a little tricky at first, but they're really not. The most common hit you're going to get on Gia is medium, 5M. So that, most of the time you're going to go to the auto combo, which is fine. It's like technically not the best thing you can do if you do hit, but it is a good thing you can do. And it won't matter if as long as you still have Cat's assist, especially. So you usually do something like that. The thing to learn with Gia is learning the timing on Gia's your jump H, jump S loops. So, and you can do these technically anywhere, although mid-screen you have to actually, you can do it. you have to do a dash in between the first and the second. After that, you'll be in the corner. But yeah, if you want to do it mid-screen, you do have to do that dash in between. But that is why Gia's combos are so easy, is because this loop exists. And it's pretty much for most damage in route, because you're just adding a bunch of HS's. It's very Magneto and Marvel vs. Capcom. It's all about learning off. You have to consider which starter you got in order to determine how many of them you get. For instance, again, the most common thing would be this, and often the 5M, 2M, you get 4 of them. This works on any character. It's very awkward on Shadow Ranger, though. So on Shadow Ranger, usually you want to get rid of the up gun and just go straight into EX, because he'll be really low. But everyone else it works just fine on. But yeah, you get 4 of them off of 5M. You get 5 of them if you just do a short string into launcher, you know, like 2, 3, 4. You get 5 of them. There is technically a more optimal ender, but I find this to be very reliable and consistent. I'm not even finishing this combo, obviously. I'm just getting to the EX, but there's more after it. There is a technically more optimal ender you can do that involves doing that. Or involves doing... Yeah, it's very irritating. There we go. Involves doing that, which is just annoying to do and just side switches you in an awkward way. So I do not do that one. You can do it. It is slightly more damage, but you have to remember you have to like leave out loops some places, and it makes things more complicated. So I wouldn't recommend it unless you're just one of those people that's got to have all the damage. Another fairly common thing you might end up getting into, just because it's kind of a go-to block string thing, would be to do crouching light into the HHH auto combo. And doing that has a couple of options. Basically, either for OTG options are what you will go to. And if you go to the forward heavy option, then you get 4 loops. If you go to the jump forward S option, then you will get 3. Again, it's still better to do the jump S combo because it saves a better resource for the end of the combo. Just like off of her EX. So yeah, that's the starter. So the ender that I've been talking about this whole time is after you do the EX, assuming that you have not OTG'd them at all, then you will do a jump back S and then a 5S. And that will also go over you. And then you since you have not ground bounced them at all, you still have your other OTG, where you will do that. Now, the reason you do this as your ender is because all of that part I just did is completely immune to the juggle limit, because it is exclusively... For some reason, this counts as like a... This breaks hit stun. I'm not sure why this move does. I guess it might count as some kind of launcher, but it doesn't take away from your actual launcher limit, so I don't know why. It's similar to Trey's Crouch M, which just beats juggle limit for some reason. This is a special move. This is a special move. so all of them by default do. And yeah, that's, so if you put it all together, it looks something like this.
Yellow Ranger, power up!
Yeah, and you might notice it's not big damage, and it's not. She is not the biggest damage character in a lot of cases. I mean, it's not horrible damage, it's just not that much for 3 meters. But she's also your Zord character most of the time, and so if you really need the extra burst of damage, you can usually just go to your Zord. And this is, again, assuming that you don't have Cat. So if you have Cat, all you need to do is to do the basic combo you are already doing. Instead of going to the EX, you will just go to... my team's not on order.
You take that, Ranger.
What do we got here?
My turn.
There we go. Assuming you have Cat, you will not go to the EX. You will just go to the forward S. And then you're in the loop. And once you're in the loop, it doesn't really matter.
And may the power protect you all.
So yeah, that's typically what you could go to. If you really feel like you want the extra damage, I do believe you could go all the way to the EX and
Check this out.
do that.
Cat stunner.
And then you'll get even more damage. Save yourself a good deal of looping. You should actually start doing that, not gonna lie. I don't know why I don't do it. It's probably the best thing you could do. Is that everything for GS combos? Other than these Zord stuff, which probably save. Yeah, I think I'll end it there for part 2. It's absurdly long now because I'm so rambly. Again, if you're sticking it out, you're a champ. Thanks.